I wouldn't even think about applying. Melissa from HR remarked, "We'll contest it," as she turned the final page of Alina's termination packet over like a menu on a serviette. No explanation, no eye contact. When someone wants to be courteous when stabbed in the ribs, they utilize that corporate sing-song voice. Alina gave one blink. That's all. She didn't scream, yell, or seek clarification as they had requested. She simply slipped the manila packet off the table like it was radioactive, adjusted the strap of her purse, and nodded slowly. Then she grinned. God bless her. She had to keep her jaw from shaking, not because she was all right. 6 years, 6 birthdays, and 6 exceeds expectations, performance reports. When the CFO unintentionally caused a duplicate transfer, it was she who stayed late to correct payroll. The person who taught accounting to the VP's golden retriever nephew, despite the fact that the child used to refer to W-2s as that government thingy. The person who discreetly fixed Melissa's tax memo before it was sent to the entire business and caused an IRS call. Now, however, none of that mattered since a recently appointed vice president was eager to win. And the simplest way to make cuts appear like leadership was to fire Alina. She was informed that she was not qualified for unemployment benefits while sitting in a meeting room that smelt like Clorox and stale ambition. "We just don't think it's a qualifying event," Melissa chirped, sliding a branded pen across the table like that made it formal. Alina picked it up, signed where she had to, and pushed the documents back. No tears, no threats, just one last glance at the company's slogan framed behind Melissa's head: Empower, Evolve, Excel. And then she left. But she didn't go home. She went to a coffee shop. Same one she used to run payroll audits from on Saturdays when the office VPN was down. Same chipped table, same lukewarm espresso, same aching wrists from typing until her fingers locked. Only now, she opened her laptop not to fix their mess, but to unpack it. Her desktop was a graveyard of folders with names only she could decipher: final_final_2.xlsx, q2_missing_loophole_backup_laptop_Friday, and the big one, ghost_hours.xlsx. She started there. The sheet opened like a confession. Rows and rows of entries from 2 summers ago, when someone accidentally deleted intern pay logs right before a finance audit. She remembered re-entering them by hand from emailed schedules on a Sunday because the CFO swore it wasn't a big deal. She hovered her mouse over the timestamp column: 2:13 a.m., 2:24 a.m., 2:37 a.m. She remembered her daughter waking up with a fever that night. She remembered holding a thermometer with one hand while recalculating time cards with the other. All for a job that had just told her to sit down, shut up, and go quietly. She dug deeper. Every email, every Slack export, every payroll discrepancy, every bonus variance, she'd been saving them, not out of paranoia, just muscle memory. Because the systems were always a mess, and if you didn't cover your ass, you'd get crushed under someone else's incompetence. She had receipts. Receipts for interns classified as volunteers mid-cycle. Receipts for denied ADA requests with emails that read "not a priority." Receipts for discretionary bonuses that mysteriously shrank when entered into the IRS system. And now she had motive. Alina wasn't stupid. She knew contesting unemployment was their way of making her disappear. If she fought back, they'd claim she was emotional, unprofessional, bitter. They expected her to yell, to crack, to give them an excuse. But Alina wasn't angry. She was precise. She closed her laptop, finished her coffee, and walked out into the September wind like she'd just set a timer no one else could hear ticking. They thought they fired a pawn. They didn't realize she'd already been the architect. Back when Alina still believed in office birthday cakes and next quarter promises, she spent her days buried in broken workflows that other people pretended weren't broken. It started small. A mislabeled deduction here, a phantom bonus there, things that looked like noise to everyone else, but made her eyelid twitch like a counter. She fixed them quietly. No praise, no pats, just a ping from legal saying, "Good catch," followed by silence, like she'd just vacuumed up someone else's mess before the CEO stepped in it. She built tools, audit scripts, checklists, Excel macros so airtight, she once got accused of using third-party software. Spoiler, she was the third party. HR called her non-core, but the truth was, every clean number that went into the board deck passed through something Alina had touched. She was the person who made bad math disappear before it became front-page news. She never asked for credit, only for better equipment, less duct tape software, maybe one intern who didn't think pivot tables were a type of gym class. She didn't get any of it. But what she did get was passed over repeatedly. There was the job she trained for 3 months, then they gave it to Darren, the guy who once sent a payroll file to a client by accident and blamed VPN lag. She smiled through it, ate the sheet cake, said, "Congrats, Darren," even as she helped him write his first policy doc. Then there was the off-site retreat where she presented a new reporting workflow to the entire finance team. 6 weeks later, the exact same deck showed up in an all-hands meeting, slightly rebranded with the new VP's initials watermarked in the corner like a signature. That VP, the one who'd later call her into a surprise meeting with HR and say, "Unfortunately, we're going in a different direction," plagiarized her framework, word for word, cell for cell. She hadn't forgotten. Now, sitting at her kitchen table with a thunderstorm curling around the house, she started building something else, something that wasn't meant to save them. She pulled open a blank Notion doc and titled it simply, Timeline. She began stitching it all together. April 17, 2021, Flex Cap Bonus Initiative promised, not paid, July 3, 2022, intern shifts deleted from payroll log, December 12, 2023. Accommodation email marked unread for 9 days. Each line tied to a file, a spreadsheet, a screen recording, a time-stamped Slack thread. Some of the file names looked like code, laptop_friday.xlsx. The CFO's kid took home a company laptop and wiped a year's worth of billing logs. Alina had recovered them from a backup she wasn't supposed to have access to. Ghost_hours.xlsx, 287 line items, hours logged by people who technically didn't exist in the system. Alina had traced them to a shell vendor with ties to the VP's old consulting firm. Don't_delete_2.zip, a mirror of the company's shared drive the day before her access was cut, just in case. Each file was a landmine, but Alina didn't drop them all at once. This wasn't a tantrum. This was a process. She knew which tools the labor board liked. She knew how to present patterns, not anecdotes. She'd sat in on those calls, helped the company lawyer write non-apology memos for violations they swore never happened. They taught her how to cover tracks. They never expected she'd learn how to uncover them. A slow burn filled her chest, not rage, something colder. The kind of clean fury that only comes after the crying stops. She wasn't disposable. She wasn't non-core. She was the system. And now she was about to become its audit. Alina clicked submit on the unemployment claim like she was closing a tab she'd never reopen. No grand gestures, no exclamation points, just a quiet digital shrug to check the box and keep up appearances. Let HR think she was playing the game their way. Let them believe she was just another laid-off cog trying to wring a sympathy check out of the state. Because while that claim made its way through the standard bureaucracy, she'd already logged into a different portal, the State Labor Board Whistleblower Complaint Initial Filing. The language was sterile bullet points, drop-downs, but Alina filled each field with scalpel precision. She didn't rant, she documented. Primary allegations: FLSA overtime violations, exempt titles assigned to junior staff clocking 60+ hours per week without compensation, logs available, retaliation. 2 documented cases of medical accommodation requests denied and later used as cause for performance improvement plans, intern misclassification, reclassification of unpaid interns to volunteers mid-cycle after an internal audit warning, offer letters modified post-signature. She attached 6 exhibits, each labeled, each dated. No fluff, no theories, just facts. She hesitated at the last section. Do you have direct knowledge of these violations? Yes. Have you been retaliated against? Yes. Would you like to remain anonymous during the initial investigation? That one made her pause. She stared at it for a full 30 seconds, heart tapping like a Morse code warning in her chest. But then she remembered the smirk Melissa wore when she said, "We'll contest it." She clicked no. Let them know exactly who lit the fuse. Still, Alina wasn't reckless. She knew how the game worked. Her name might be on the file, but her leverage was in the details. And the most damning one, a case she flagged early on in her review, was an intern named Tristan. Sophomore, accounting major, quiet kid who never took breaks and always double-checked his math. He'd been on board with a standard 12-week paid internship contract, signed and approved. Alina remembered because she was the one who had to fix his tax forms when payroll mislabeled him as a contractor. Halfway through his term, his designation mysteriously changed in the HRS system, not intern, not contractor, just other. Alina dug up the original offer letter, then compared it to the finalized one in the intern archive. Different timestamp, same signature. Someone had edited it after the fact. That edit effectively nullified his pay eligibility, which explained why, in his exit survey, Tristan had noted, "I thought I was supposed to get paid." The survey had gone unanswered, but Alina had a local copy, and the audit trail showed exactly who'd made the edit. She didn't name Tristan yet, that would come later when she reached out privately. For now, she flagged the anomaly, attached the before and after PDFs, and labeled it Exhibit 4, Tristan_aclass.pdf. Once the upload finished, Alina sat back in her chair, spine stiff from tension and caffeine. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't even angry anymore. She was locked in. HR expected her to beg for scraps. The VP expected her to disappear. What they didn't expect was a meticulously prepared digital case file with embedded metadata, hashed file fingerprints, and a forensic audit trail stronger than anything their internal compliance team ever produced. They thought they fired a problem. What they actually did was activate one. And Alina? She had just begun. A message landed in Alina's inbox like a pebble tapping glass. "Hey, I saw your post. Not sure if it's related, but I had a weird experience there too. LMK if you ever want to chat." It was from Tristan, the intern, the one with the mismatched offer letter, the one who disappeared from payroll and never raised hell about it, just faded out like so many others who figured it wasn't worth the fight. Alina stared at the message for a minute, then another. Her pulse didn't race, it slowed, the way it does right before something irreversible happens. Her post had been vague, just a quiet reflection about learning the hard way that ethics and leadership aren't always friends. No tags, no hashtags, just breadcrumbs. But apparently, it had been enough. She wrote back, "Hey Tristan, I remember you. Would love to hear what happened if you're open to sharing." They set up a Zoom call, Sunday afternoon, cameras off, just voices and a shared Google document Alina didn't push. She asked soft questions, let silence do the heavy lifting, and kept the focus away from herself. And Tristan spilled. He'd been told verbally he'd be paid $20 an hour, even got a welcome email confirming the rate. But halfway through the internship, his paycheck stopped. When he asked, he was told something about a budget freeze and an RO reclassification. He didn't argue, just figured he'd misunderstood, or that the company was struggling, or maybe he just wasn't worth the hassle. Alina asked gently if he still had any of those emails. He did. He forwarded them to her that night. 3 days later, she got the second piece, a screenshot he'd taken of his signed offer letter, dated and initialed, pay terms clearly visible. It did not match the copy in the company HR system that Alina had archived. That one had been subtly edited, payment terms removed, line spacing adjusted to hide the deletion. The timestamp showed it had been modified a week after he signed it. Alina ran both documents through a PDF comparison tool, highlighted changes, attached metadata, and then, just for good measure, dug into the server logs she'd mirrored before losing access. She found the smoking gun, a file access trail showing Melissa from HR had opened and resaved the file on a Saturday at 6:17 p.m. She packaged the whole thing, Tristan's statement, original and edited docs, metadata audit, email chain, and attached it to her labor board portal as Exhibit 7, intern_chain.zip. Then she emailed her contact at the board directly. Subject line: follow-up evidence plus secondary witness statement. Tristan redacted. No emotion, no story, just facts, just receipts. She got a reply the next morning. Thank you. We're elevating this to active investigation status. Additional questions to follow. Translation: this wasn't a complaint anymore. This was a case. And she wasn't the only victim. The next few days moved like chess. The labor board sent a formal document request to the company. HR held a surprise policy alignment meeting. LinkedIn buzzed with the soft panic of people who'd just been told to scrub their inboxes for anything off policy. Kristen texted Alina, "I got a weird email from legal asking if I ever signed an NDA. I didn't." She replied, "Ignore them. They're stalling." Because she knew something HR didn't. Once the labor board moves to active inquiry, intimidation attempts aren't just frowned upon, they're evidence. She watched the threads start to fray. The VP's activity on LinkedIn dropped. The HR director unlisted her position for 2 days, then redid it with a slightly different title. And all Alina had to do was wait. They didn't just screw over a single employee. They falsified official documents to erase wages from a federally protected intern program. She had the proof. The state had the file. And now Alina had backup. Her fingers hovered over the name for 10 minutes before she typed it, Jamie K. They'd been work friends, closer than coworkers, not quite happy hour tight. Shared snacks in break rooms, mutual eye rolls during town halls, and once, during a fire drill, a 10-minute rant about how leadership acted like remote work was radioactive. Jamie had lupus. Alina remembered how hard it hit the second-year flare-ups so bad she'd walk stiff-legged into meetings, sunglasses on indoors, a silent scream behind every polite nod. She also remembered the emails. "Hi Melissa, following up on my request to work from home 2 days a week due to medical guidance. Circling back, any update? Hey, I just wanted to confirm whether there's a formal process for ADA accommodations, and then, per our previous conversation, we're unable to accommodate this request at this time. We hope you understand." Jamie had cried in the parking lot that day. Alina had sat next to her in her car, engine off, windows up, both pretending it wasn't happening. Now Alina was done pretending. She shot Jamie a message, "Hey, I'm working on something. Remember your accommodation request from 2 years ago?" The response came within the hour. "Don't tell me they're still pulling that same." They talked. Alina explained what she'd already submitted, Tristan's case, the payroll edits, the filed complaint. Jamie didn't hesitate. "Use anything I sent you. I'm in, but I want to stay anonymous." Done. Alina dug through her archives, screenshots of Slack conversations, cached emails, even a calendar invite where Jamie had been pulled into a performance alignment meeting 3 weeks after her final request. She cross-referenced those dates with internal HR logs she'd saved. Jamie's personnel file had been marked with a flexibility concerns tag, added manually by Melissa the same day the accommodation was denied. She zipped the files, Exhibit 10, ADA_chain_jk.zip, supporting materials, 3 emails, 2 Slack exports, 1 performance doc with embedded creation timestamp. She uploaded it, then wrote a line in her submission. "This complainant wishes to remain confidential, but has granted me access to documentation and permission to share context." By the next morning, she had another reply from the labor board. Evidence received. This will be incorporated under ADA retaliation clause. Interview pending. That same morning, she heard from someone still inside, a Slack message forwarded from a sympathetic IT contact. "Hey team, legal needs help locating historical documentation on ADA requests, especially 2022 to 2023. Priority by end of day." Translation: HR was sweating. They didn't expect Alina to be strategic. They expected her to burn out in a corner of rage and HR's gaslighting. Instead, she had structure, witnesses, digital receipts with timestamps and revision histories that no PR scrub could erase. What they didn't know, this wasn't about Jamie or Tristan or even Alina. This was systemic, patterned, documented. And Alina was building the kind of paper trail no VP promotion could outrun. The first sign came through a LinkedIn update. Melissa, the HR director, posted a smiling photo with a latte caption. Some mornings require extra caffeine and even stronger HR policy refreshers. Hashtag notebooks, hashtag compliance, hashtag leadership. For a woman who'd once told an employee, "I don't believe in burnout," it read like panic in a pantsuit. Alina smirked. It was starting. By Thursday, the whispers were ricocheting through the office walls, not loud, but sharp, like staples snapping in a cheap copier. A former colleague messaged her under the radar. "Hey, weird energy over here today. Rumor is the labor board called legal directly." You wouldn't happen to. Alina didn't confirm or deny. She didn't need to. But what she did need was to act before they started cleansing things, because she'd seen this before. The quiet lockouts, the unannounced system purges dressed up as routine maintenance, the sudden disappearance of shared drives labeled archived. She logged into the backend portal she'd built just before her layoff, her last non-core project, a changelog tracker for financial audits, a tool no one used, no one appreciated, and no one understood well enough to deactivate properly. What they didn't know was that she'd baked in a backdoor, not malicious, just a leftover dev credential tied to her work email that had never been deactivated. And Alina had mirrored that portal's logs weekly, quietly, routinely, before she was walked out. She accessed the encrypted archive from her external drive, opened the last sync from 7:16 a.m. the day of her termination. Then she compared it to a public timestamp on the server, accessed through a forgotten employee dashboard she could still see thanks to outdated cookie permissions. What she found made her stomach go still. Deletion events. User vp_admin/request_bonus_bonus/HR/ada_request_underscore policy/version_3_signed.doc/. Time of deletion, 2:03 a.m. via internal VPN, manual purge. They weren't just nervous. They were wiping. But Alina had it all. She packaged a fresh zip, Exhibit 14, deletion_logs_backup.zip, including screenshots of changelog entries, original versus purged file names, IP traces, email metadata, timestamp diffs. She added a cover note, "Per your request for further documentation regarding potential obstruction of records during an active investigation." Then she sent it. 10 minutes later, she watched the server log her out. Her access was finally revoked, months late, but it didn't matter. The files were archived. The evidence was sent. The server might be clean, but the trail was radioactive. And across town, in a glassy conference room with overwatered ferns and stress-sweating middle managers, someone was about to realize they deleted the wrong things. Because Alina hadn't just built their systems, she'd outlived them. The company's first official move was as predictable as it was pathetic, a formal letter to the labor board, full of passive-aggressive legalese and freshly polished nonsense. "We believe the scope of this inquiry appears retaliatory in nature and may be motivated by a disgruntled former employee with personal grievances rather than systemic compliance issues." They wrapped it in just enough corporate fluff to sound civil, ongoing cooperation, commitment to transparency. But Alina recognized the stalling tactic immediately. It was the HR version of, if we ignore the fire long enough, maybe it'll go out. It wouldn't. The labor board didn't bite. Instead, they sent back a request for additional records. Deadline: 2 weeks, no extensions. Internally, panic metastasized. An old friend from accounting texted her, "Legal has commandeered the third-floor meeting room. Melissa looks like she's aged 6 years in 6 days." Another, "They're rewriting the code of conduct again. Integrity is now consistency." Alina didn't laugh. She didn't even smile. She just sipped her tea and opened a new tab she'd been sitting on for weeks. A local investigative journalist named Lena Fan, sharp, seasoned, and already 2 exposés deep on tech sector labor abuse. Alina had bookmarked her Substack the same day she submitted her labor board complaint. Now, she composed a message. Subject: Tip: potential labor violation pattern, multiple complainants. Body: Hi Lena, I've followed your work for a while. There may be a developing story involving ADA denial patterns, internship misclassification, and retaliation post-reporting. Multiple participants, formal inquiry underway. No documents, no names, no pitch, just one line at the bottom. Keep an eye on the week of October 21st. She hit send. No signature, no follow-up. She didn't need a headline. She just wanted a flashlight in the dark, aimed in the right direction. Then she waited. Each morning, she refreshed the labor board portal. Each night, she reread the paper trail she'd built, wondering which link in the chain would finally snap. Meanwhile, inside the company, the walls were closing in. The VP who orchestrated her layoff had gone noticeably quiet online. Once daily posts about empowered leadership and ROI-driven culture dried up overnight. His LinkedIn profile now simply read, "Taking time to reflect and recalibrate." Translation: legal told him to shut the hell up. From the outside, the company looked the same. Press releases, open roles, a new DI blog post no one read. But Alina could feel the strain, like hairline fractures and glass under pressure. They were trying to delay what could no longer be paused. And she had nothing left to send, nothing left to expose. Her part was done. So she let the silence grow. No more emails, no more posts, just long walks, strong coffee, and the quiet satisfaction of inevitability. She'd planted every seed. Now all she had to do was wait for the harvest. Tuesday morning, 9:12 a.m. The receptionist, Jen, one of the only decent people left, shot Alina a one-line text. "They're here." Alina didn't reply. She just closed her laptop and walked to the coffee shop across the street. Same corner table where she'd written her final summary document 6 weeks ago. 2 creamers, no sugar, and a perfect view of the lobby through floor-to-ceiling glass. Inside, it played out like theater. 2 agents, business casual, clipboards in hand. No suits, no fanfare, no names given, just a flash of state IDs and a calm, rehearsed sentence. "We're here for Melissa Lear, HR director." Jen buzzed them in, her voice steady like she'd practiced it. Melissa appeared 2 minutes later, heels clacking, blazer unwrinkled, posture sharp. She wore that same strange smile she'd flashed when she told Alina, "We'll contest it." But this time, she didn't get the last word. One of the agents handed her a thick manila folder. She took it like it was a gift, smug, lips pursed, eyes scanning for weaknesses, until she opened it. The color drained before her hand even flipped past the cover page. Because there, front and center, printed in bold at the top, subject, "Formal labor complaint, Alina M. Roses, case #4582, AS." And below that, a list of violations, bullet points in bureaucratic black ink, misclassification of intern labor, retaliatory denial of ADA accommodations, FLSA violations concerning exempt status manipulation, document tampering during active investigation. Each item neatly labeled with exhibit numbers. The agents didn't explain. They didn't need to. Melissa stood frozen, lips parted, blinking hard like she was trying to turn the folder into smoke. Behind her, the VP, the same one who'd initiated Alina's dismissal, peeked into the lobby, saw the state logos, and ducked back like a man walking into the wrong funeral. From across the street, Alina watched Melissa's fingers tremble, just slightly, not enough for the room to see, but Alina saw it. It was the same hand that signed her termination papers. The same hand that annotated Jamie's denial form with potential culture fit issues. The same hand that reopened and resaved Tristan's offer letter at 6:17 p.m. on a Saturday. Alina took a slow sip of coffee. The agents followed Melissa to a private conference room. Jen watched them go, then glanced toward the street. She didn't smile, but her eyes found Alina's through the glass. A subtle nod. A thank you passed in silence. Back inside, Melissa's voice carried down the hallway, not words, just tone. Fragile, clipped, losing altitude. Alina didn't gloat. She didn't text. She didn't post. She just sat there, listening to the rhythm of justice knocking on corporate drywall. It wasn't rage that filled her, not triumph, just completion. 6 years of silence repackaged into 147 pages of unavoidable evidence. Every late night, every gaslit meeting, every ignored email turned into leverage. No headlines, no press conferences, just two strangers in loafers delivering a reckoning in Manila. And Alina? She stirred her coffee once, set the spoon down, exhaled through her nose, quiet, cold, full, like winter air before the first crack of thunder. It started with a second folder. The first had been enough to freeze Melissa mid-step, but the second, delivered to the general counsel's office the following morning, was where the gears jammed completely. This one was thicker, labeled with a red tab, a summary packet for legal, pre-processed by the State Labor Board. Not just a complaint, but a network of claims. Each page was an indictment in spreadsheet form. Intern misclassification, 7 documented cases, edited offer letters with mismatched timestamps and metadata showing weekend edits from HRIPs. ADA retaliation, 3 complainants, 2 anonymous, 1 named, all with chat logs, email chains, and calendar entries backing every denial. FLSA violations, a detailed chart mapping exempt titles to task logs and timesheets, showing employees clocking 60-hour weeks, while HR massaged the titles to dodge overtime pay. Data tampering, internal IT logs showing deletion clusters, bulk purges of folders during routine audits, including full archives labeled payroll_Q2_2022_backup. And then came the last section, forged digital logs. Alina's changelog tracker had caught everything, every modification, every time a file was opened, renamed, saved, deleted. One table showed a dozen files edited minutes after Melissa's official termination meetings. Files that now no longer existed on company servers. Legal reviewed it wordlessly. Red pens stilled, laptops left open but untouched. Someone whispered, 6 figures. Someone else muttered, state press release. And someone in the corner just cursed under their breath. The VP who orchestrated Alina's layoff, the one who pitched performance realignment to the board, was suspended that afternoon. HR didn't send an announcement. His calendar simply vanished. Later that day, a junior compliance analyst stumbled into the CEO's office holding a packet stamped urgent, Labor Board. The CEO opened it, read the first page, then the second, then turned pale. He looked at legal and whispered, how the hell did this get through? Answer, it didn't get through. It was built in by the woman they labeled non-core. Across the street, Alina watched board members file into the building one by one. Different suits, same nervous posture. No eye contact, just brisk walks and half-closed umbrellas on a gray, indecisive Thursday. Inside, crisis meetings. Outside, Alina sipped her Americano. Her phone buzzed, state notice, unemployment claim approved. Full back pay granted. Funds released with interest due to improper contesting by employer. She didn't smile, just locked the screen and slid it into her pocket. There was nothing left to say. She had carried entire quarters on her back while men were promoted for wearing pressed shirts, and the building where she had once sat through pointless performance appraisals was now consuming itself from the inside out. She didn't set anything on fire. She didn't yell. She put it in writing. I sent the files. Allow the truth to weigh so much that it crushes what needs to be crushed. She watched the rain stain the windows like an antique painting melting under examination as she slowly and steadily stirred her coffee. Nor victorious, nor justified, but clear as in consequences that are crystal plain. Many thanks to you elderly office legends. Keep the switch-flicking mayhem going by subscribing.